Tips and Tricks Tuesday is again kind of showing you how the sausage is made. This was requested to me by a few people here and there about how to become how to market yourself as a small market publisher. And I wasn't sure if I'm exactly the person you should talk to or communicate with, because some would consider me not to be very successful at it. But we'll go through it. We'll just talk about it, and I'll give you my impressions of it, because in many ways, maybe hopefully I can be an example of an individual who is trying to make their way in publishing content in the RPG community, and just how to market yourself and what it is that we do. And when I say we, I mean all of us that are creatives. What can we do, and what are we doing, and what have we done that from my point of view is successful or not. Vince, what's going on? Good morning, America. Yeah. So um wasn't sure where to start with this. I'll give you my journey. All right, and then we'll go from there. Probably this video, strangely enough, won't be as long as some of the others, but we'll go on. Well, I started 4 or 5 years ago responding to the main man, Andrew Wood, who was doing some pretty volatile and videos out there, and he was just known to be very very wild and quite opinionated, and had just as many haters as he had people that were loved what he did. But I knew he was being sarcastic, so I would respond to a ton of his videos, and during and responding very what I felt was thoughtful responses. So he kind of challenged me, and he was like, "Look, dude, you seem to be well thought. Produce some videos." I was like, "No, I'm just an old dude. I'm a grognard. I don't. That's for you young folks out there." And he pretty much came back at me and was like, "No, do it. You need to do it. If you do it, I'll push you out there." And so probably 4 or 5 years ago, um, the main man, Andrew Wood, caught a couple of videos that I did, and they're still up there. I mean, they were filmed on I don't know, a Galaxy. It was before the Note even came out, and just had the phone propped up, started recording, had some opinions and whatnot, and he snatched a hold of a bunch of my videos and said, "Hey guys, you guys need to look at this, what this guy's producing." And I got my first subscribers, and it kind of energized me. Okay, so then fast forward a little bit. I'm doing videos, just recording them. Right now I have like a screen and such in my movie room, but I had another room that I was sitting on a desk and recording videos back there as well, and just trying to improve it a little bit. Then I got a camera, a video camera with a little tripod on it. Start doing videos that way, and as it started to increase my production, I said, "Man, I really need to interact with people," because people were making comments on the videos. So I ended up I wasn't a very big person on Facebook. I don't post, I'm not a narcissist. I don't like, "Oh man, just taking pictures of my food and whether I tied my shoe or not." I don't do that kind of thing. Vincent says, "I know you from Facebook, from the RPG Brigade, if I'm not mistaken." And that's when I was invited. As I started doing videos, I was invited into the RPG Brigade, and I believe at the time the name was called the YouTube RPG Brigade, and there were a number of people producing videos, and we were going back and forth with like video responses. Someone would come up with a subject, and it was always little things here and there, like, oh, what about alignment or hit points or silly things like that, and the things that come in and out of the RPG community in like seasons of sorts. Sometimes it'll be dice fudging, another time it'll be alignment, other times it'll be um, player agency or something like that. And we were doing a ton of videos where we were responding to each other, and in many ways that's how my face and voice became known, even though I wasn't interacting with people quite a lot. Yeah, Vince says, yeah, it started that way. I was invited by the Gentleman Gamer back in the day. Currently, I'm an admin on the brigade. Oh, wow. So small world after all. um, Never connected with the Gentleman Gamer. Mine was Samwise 7 and oh shoot. Red Dice Diaries, John Allen Large. Those guys really like embraced me, kind of pulled me in into that community, and being part of that Facebook community allowed me to communicate with people in a number of ways. And so for me, it was just being part of that community, and just because I always err on the positive side. Um, I realize now that being positive, being value added to a community really helped me out. And I think if you want to be a small publisher and you really want to get your name out there, um, you really need to be very proactive and be positive in being proactive, and not try not to be negative, meaning like shooting down other game systems or what other people are doing, because people kind of remember that. And Business says, I'm playing in a game of Red Dice Diaries, Rose of West Haven, Lamentations of Flame Princess campaign. Oh, okay, okay. I'll have to listen in on that. I don't get a chance to watch the videos, but a lot of live plays, like I download them and I listen to them as I am working through my day. So what I'll do is I'll start because I get all the notifications for that campaign, by the way. Anyway, so yeah, and man, like Red Dice did 4 or 5 reviews of what we were doing over at Critical Hit and or for the cinematic environs. So anyway, but before I get that far, so got on Facebook. I'm on Facebook communities, and then 4 individuals kind of split off from the RPG brigade. William of Riverhead, the Demon Boy. Okay, I've no lie, absolutely. I'll absolutely catch up on those episodes. I know he's got what's the pop in there what session you guys are up to, because I want to say it's in the teens now, 18, 15, something like that, for the Rose of West Haven campaign. But anyway, 4 individuals from the RPG brigade broke off, and they became known as Absolute Tabletop. That's you guys would probably know them as Fistful of Dice, How to Be a Better Game Master, and Tabletop Terrors. Session 16, that's right. Thank you. So, and those 4, I would say quickly teamed up. In the beginning, they were kind of disparate, but they all had a ton of people who wanted to know what they were doing, especially Matt Click from Fistful of Dice. And he started a campaign called The Provokers, which really launched them into becoming Absolute Tabletop. So now I became members of 2 communities, and being members of those communities and looking at what people were talking about and poking my head into different conversations and saying, wow, that's a really great idea. Here's how I would do it. Or I love what you did. Allowed people to find out who I was and what I was doing. Eventually, with me hooking up with Captain Gothnog and the Swamper, Alex and Rob, concerning small publishing. And I believe Alex put something out about looking for new talent. And because of the foundation that I created from interacting with people, I had a YouTube channel. I'm interacting with people online. I'm now currently, at that time, I was currently part of 2 or 3 Facebook groups. There was an easy way for me. Um, oh, yeah, there was an easy way. Thank you very much for that, Vince. Um, there was an easy way for me to contact people and connect with people and show people that I had a foundation that I built on. So, in a strange way, as much as social media is very immediate, um, very ephemeral, to become a small publisher, you actually have to think long term and create a foundation for yourself that people can look at. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to I think one big mistake the small publishers have is they want to put out a 350-page book and no one knows who you are, because there are plenty of brilliant people out there who are producing material and no one knows who they are. No, it's a shame, but it's true. The book's not here right now. Yeah, I've got a book right now that I went to that I got at Origins, and I love it. It's about like ancient Samaria and aliens, and what if it was true that aliens came here from ancient Egypt in that time period. Excuse me. Anyway, it's a great book. It's like 300 pages thick, but the gentleman just he can't get. He admitted that he just cannot get a foothold in marketing himself, and I think it's because we are creatives, but we tend not to be very good when it comes to the bean counting, the marketing, the oh, sorry, got my sound up. The idea that wow, that it is a business. No matter how small, it is a business. Yeah, Vincent says, yeah, writing a long time now, but have no idea how I should publish my stuff. I don't have a lot of money to spare to get me started. Well, I'm not sure how unique I am. I never put out $1. I have not in monetarily. Well, I can't say I haven't done monetarily. I have not invested any money in publishing. A lot of time and effort, but not a lot of money. So, and those are the three. Those are that magic triangle: time, effort, resources that are very important when it comes to publishing. So I was writing, and I had been writing for quite some time. And like you're saying, man, you write for a long time, but you're not sure how to expose it to the public. Alex, Captain Gothnog, is a um, professional layout artist. He does layout for small publishing. Yeah. So Vince says, how do you get art or people who proofread your stuff? How are you doing your layout? All right. Well, the thing is, I ended up lucking up with 2 individuals. Alex does layout, and Rob does editing. Both of whom have done that or are doing that as a job. Rob is semi-retired, but he is a self-professed literary individual, and has to be critical. If you have an editor, that editor has to be very critical, not just of it's not just simply spell checking, but it's like well, yes, spell checking, language techniques, consistency, voice, whether it's like first person, third person, or what have you, punctuation, cadence. Uh, Sometimes those of us that write, maybe our cadence tends to be the same, and you have to change the cadence out. Repetition of certain words or phrasing or certain phraseology may not be. I may make it too Americanized and have too much slang in it that other people may not understand. Although I know what I'm saying, someone else may not. So an editor has to do those kind of things. Alex, for me, does the layout. He primarily uses free artwork, and then runs them through a filter, like oil filters or oil painting or um, watercolor filters to change them a lot. So they tend to be like photographs of the natural environment and things like that. And he goes through them to make that kind of flavor. But he does all the layout. I don't do any of that. He does all the layout. Vincent says, then you get very lucky. Not everyone has the luxury of having people who do these things for them. Well, yes, tons of luck. But I was also in Facebook communities of people that were very proactive and were either pointed me in the right direction to hook up with people, or were the face YouTube Brigade and Absolute Tabletop and with Tabletop Terrors and with they were just very intellectual in their responses to things. Some Facebook groups, the minute you put out a thoughtful comment, sometimes the comments received are very pedestrian in some ways. You know, I'm just making an example, like you'll say, hey, is there any place to find free art? And somebody might respond with, there's no such thing as free art, or whatever. It's like, come on, be constructive in the criticism. And so not every Facebook group is that way. And you kind of have to weed through those kind of things. Now my experience was with Facebook, but that's not the only social media. There's Reddit and Google Plus and hell, Discord and so many places. Your your surfing may vary. Experience may vary in certain things. I hear, like, I don't use Reddit. I hear Reddit is very much very much like a wild, the wild west. You're always waiting, to pull your 6-shooter to blow somebody away because they're just going to like trash your thread or something like that. And that kind of sucks because some people are very passionate about what they want to do, and they're just looking for an intelligent response, and it's very difficult to read through those kind of things. Vince says, yeah, I almost stopped posting questions on Facebook because 90% of responses are just useless, especially when it comes to creative ideas. Google Plus has lots of very creative RPG creator communities. And that's the problem, right? Like, Facebook is huge, although in social media, it's kind of the old guard, whereas like Google Plus is small, but I find there tends to be a higher percentage of thoughtful responses. And there are people out there who, the hard part is to try to find individuals who have a specialization and they're trying to hook up with other individuals with their specialization. So, for example, I ended up like Alex, I knew what he was already doing, and I just said, hey, guy, I've got this great idea. Is it possible that we could hook up? Sometimes you really have to stretch yourself out there, because the only response you can get is a no. Usually the response will be no, but, right? No, but not right now. No, but this isn't what we're looking for. I know someone else who's looking for that. I mean, even getting a no isn't a problem because sometimes those people will say no, but I know someone else. Vince says only a very specific type of person still uses Google Plus. It is super niche, but tends to attract more competent people for whatever reason. Google Plus, the MySpace of communities now. You know what? You're right, and it's it's kind of odd because like Google Plus is very, I've noticed, is very OSR, very old school Renaissance, or whichever way you want to describe the O, the S, and the R. But yeah, which is strange because Google's huge, but the Google Plus community is tiny. Not sure why it hasn't broken through, but yeah, certain communities have attracted certain elements in the RPG community. They kind of gravitate towards one portion one portion of the community, in terms of like whether you're into like Savage Worlds, whether you're the OSR or miniatures or something like that. Here, Vincent says yes and or no but, like you should use in game mastering. Yeah, it's very um we as human beings don't like rejection at all, and especially if it's something we feel passionate about. And it's sometimes not even having someone look at what you're doing and they tell you no can be very frustrating. And usually it's not because of um for the most part it's not because they're just blowing you off. It's more like they are people are busy, people have different time schedules. Just like me doing these live broadcasts every day, I'm in a strange time. I'm broadcasting at a strange time period. So people here in the States, I mean, if you're in California, it's 3 in the morning. I'll never or very rarely hook up with those people. Person in Arizona, I'm just like, it's 4 in the morning for them. So my interaction with them is limited. I can't blame them for not wanting to interact with me at this time of morning in the States, right? I can't blame that. So one way really to self-publish is to make a foundation for yourself. So I feel like find a social media that you are comfortable using um, at home and on the go, and be an active participant in that, and keep your interactions productive, creative, supportive, and positive. If there's something you don't like, don't say anything. This goes back to Bambi. Like Jared said, you really cornered the Australian D&D market. I, you know what? Part of me kind of thought about that. Like, man, if I'm getting up so early in the States, like, wow, I wonder if I'll end up having some kind a larger connection overseas. Um, yeah, I'm not sure. So yeah, getting into those communities, into your specific social media, being positive, being creative, being supportive, is a great thing. I would suggest try not to answer comments and get on social media by doing contrarian things. Like someone will say, I mean, as an example, someone would say, I'm trying to do science fiction with fifth edition Dungeons and Dragons. How do I do it? Like, don't respond with, well, just play Star Wars or something. Like, those kind of comments are not productive, because the individual asking, you're not sure if the individual asking is doing so because they're just unfamiliar with other game systems, or they know full well that there are other game systems that do what they're asking, but maybe they're asking the question for their own group who hasn't spread out, or maybe they have a specific idea in their head. You don't know. So when people respond with, well, that's just stupid, do this other thing, um, it can really start to deteriorate the building blocks of what you're creating. So my suggestion is, if you want to be a small pub creator, don't do that. Um, Absolutely don't do that. Like, and now you may be thinking about me, like, am I being not okay? By not being negative, is am I being am I not being truthful as to who I am? And I would say that what you're trying to do is you really want to cultivate who you are. I know that seems like it seems like you're putting on a persona, but no, honestly, no one's going to want to interact with you if you're negative. So that's the big thing. Um, yeah, see, Vince says so many people who just respond with "play my favorite system" or "it sucks" or whatever question you ask. Yeah, I mean, you can get a ton of that. Um, he also says, if someone asks for inspiration, I just write down a dozen ideas or more if I'm in the mood and nothing else. Maybe asking more specifically what they want. See, I do that a lot. Like, someone will say, man, I have this adventure in a jungle. I just can't come up with ideas. And I'll go, and just my personality, I get excited about certain things. Like, how about trying this, blah 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 blah, and I'll type some things in, and hey, how about trying that or whatever, reskin this, and then what I've also learned is if you type in other people who are doing similar things and you become a crossroads for what other people are doing, that also will help you out to try to market yourself. In other words, in other words, if you become the person that links two other people together, you become valuable. So if someone says, you know what, I really want to do this post-apocalyptic setting, um, so yeah, like you said, I just love coming up with the ideas. That's why I join you here, DBJ. And see, I want to be that person. Like, I don't get a chance to play very often, but I don't mind being used in a non so that's sexual matter, right? If I can be a crossroads for people um, who are trying to get themselves started, I would love to be that individual. And in many ways, I'm trying to build a foundation to be that person. Jared says, I actually found this channel years ago looking for someone to review Expedition to Barrier Peaks. You know what? I got a ton of hits on that. And I went to half price bookstore here in Central Ohio, and I found it for like $5 or whatever. And I was like, $5? Oh my God. I came home, did a video on it. And it was just my usual rambly, hey, here's what it looks like, pulled out all this stuff. And I got a ton of hits on that video, which kind of surprised me. And part of me was like, oh man, maybe I should do something like that, like doing a ton of modules. But then I said, nah, but, then that's going to cost me money and time. So here's the other thing. Don't pander. Don't do it. I absolutely, positively do not pander. What do I mean by pandering? Perfect example. Jared says that he found me by finding a video that I did on a review of an old D&D module, which is a classic. And at the time, because I got a ton of hits, and I still get a ton of hits on that video, at the time I said, well, if people are interested in that, maybe I should start doing reviews of the other modules in the entire series, because I thought that would be a great thing to do. Well, then I come up with two problems, right? I've got to purchase every single one of them because I didn't want to do it half-assed. And then the second thing is that something that's going to make me happy? Am I going to be happy doing that for other people? And if you're not happy doing what you're doing, if not comfortable doing what you're doing, I think it'll show. It'll look like you're pandering to an audience as opposed to trying to do something that you feel passionate about, because I think people can feel that passion. Vincent says reviews on specific modules or games are very popular, especially if no one else does it. You're just on top of the list in that case, right? Now, I'm not saying you and you, whoever you are who's watching or listening, shouldn't do it. I'm saying if you want to find a niche and then stick to that one, if you're finding that it's something that you enjoy. And what's going to happen is that whatever it is you're into, whether you're doing videos, you're writing, you're certain Facebook, you like doing things, what's going to happen is you're not going to get any traction. And the reason for not getting traction and people not knowing who you are is because of algorithms. It's not because people don't like what you're doing or have no interest in it. It's all because of algorithms. And that's why you need to create a foundation. The foundations, no one's going to watch what you're doing. An example would be like building a house. When you start building the house, you're going to have like a big giant pit in the ground, and no one's going to know how beautiful this house is going to be, but you got to pour the foundation first. Vincent says, by the way, do you collect ideas for your next projects on these streams, or do you try to come up with most of it yourself? Both. Well, yeah, both. So an example would be today's stream was because RP Gamer wanted we were going to talk about small publishing and how to market yourself, because marketing is a combination of like humble bragging and arrogance. I mean, it really is, right? It's like it's it's a fine balance of, hey guys, take a look at what I'm doing, without begging people or what have you. So the the most powerful form of marketing is word of mouth. Period. There's no there marketing experts have been trying to break through every kind of way to market, and the most powerful form of marketing is word of mouth. That is, somebody that you trust suggests to you something you should be into, whether it's food or clothing or what have you, gaming and things. If you're in a community of friends or family or people that you trust and they suggest something to you, those are the individuals that are you tend to trust, and then therefore um, kind of break out. Um, yeah, Vincent says, "Yeah, I hate bragging about my stuff, but on the other hand, I really want people to read and use it." And Jared says, "I'd like to move to America and do the Antiques Roadshow D&D, but I don't think that's going to happen." You know what? But here's the deal, right? Um, it it depends on how you do it. So, for example, um, Dave from Nerdarchy, he ended up coming here for Origins, and himself and his wife and myself and my wife, we went out to dinner, and I just wanted to talk to him and such because he's known me for quite a number of years, and he made a point about, just because someone else is doing something doesn't mean you shouldn't. Others may want to hear your voice instead of someone else's voice. Like I don't do any videos that are really highly refined. A, because I'm lazy, and B, it takes a lot of time to do like specific kind of music and fade ins and animations and all those kind of things. And I honestly, I really don't have the time for that. So my videos tend to be very raw and just spur of the moment, off the top of my head. All of them are off the top of my head. If you guys give me an idea for tomorrow, World Building Wednesday, I'll do that video. 99% of the time I'll do it, because I may not have an idea. I really don't have an idea. You know, I'll be at work and I'll come up like, oh, maybe I should do this for tomorrow. I usually don't have an idea. I just do what's spur of the moment. So, um, um, so the idea of creating a foundation is quite important, and having your own voice. And your voice could be, some people do, like they'll have the camera look at a book and do a page through for reviews. Some people will use the PDFs, and you can, have them on um, your screen, all those kind of things. Jared says, there's some people out there with blogs and stuff. They're great for reading adventures and paths, rules, and ideas, but it's not easily accessible as YouTube is. Also, I find I listen to content, not read. And that's the other, I don't want to say problem. The other issue is, how will people will absorb your content in different ways. So while others like to read a blog, maybe they're at work and they have the opportunity. Myself, I work outside, so I don't have the opportunity to read many things. I've got to listen to such. So I listen to YouTube like a podcast. So I listen to a ton of podcasts. I use my Stitcher app, and then I have my YouTube Red account, so I can listen to all the videos without the commercials, and it doesn't kill my phone battery because my screen is off of my phone. So that's how I absorb a lot of content. I happen to have a job that I can listen to like 7 to 8 hours of content, and a phone that's got a great battery. I don't know how I lucked up. I got a Samsung Note 3, and it holds a battery. I listen to 7 to 8 hours of content. It's at 50% at the end of the day. Don't know how the hell that happens. But anyway, my point is that I don't read a lot. So someone can have an excellent blog, but I'm not able to absorb that content. So YouTube is a way for someone to have like a YouTube, get out there, show what they're doing with videos, and then see. Vincent says, so you can easily catch up on Rosa West Haven. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's how I do it. That's how I listen to actual plays. Strangely enough, now the problem is I hear the voices, but I can't put the faces with the voices. So sometimes if someone's intonations are similar or the audio is off, um, the characters will kind of blend together, and I'm like, oh, I'm trying to remember who's who. I considered catching up on Critical Role, but I'm not into the tomfoolery of that. So anyway, not so much. Maybe I will one day. So the other idea for marketing yourself is to become value added. So you have to do something you like. You have to have your own voice. You have to be value added. And value added means that you're giving people something. You're giving something away for free that people think is enough value that they're willing to return to possibly pay for what it is that you're doing. So it would be like a musician who has free concerts, or an actor that is very active on their social media, like The Rock or something, where people interact with them and they feel like they're getting a value in their life for what the individual's doing, and are far more willing than not to return to that person if they now have something that has a specific value to it. Um, Vincent says, yeah, that's a big problem with amateur RPG content. You just have no consistent quality. It heavily depends on the players and the GM if you can listen to it effortlessly. And I'm very tolerant of things, so like I don't mind pushing through what some would consider bad content. Like I'm not exactly a person that's like, oh, 5 minutes, it sucks. I'm not that kind of individual. Sometimes it takes me about 4 or 5 times to push through like Critical Role or something like that, where I'll go, okay, you know what? I'll just get through it. Yeah, Critical Role is not for me. There's just too many people, and it's super taxing for me to listen to, um, as a as a non-native speaker. Yeah, there's a ton of them too, and the dichotomy between the expert voice acting of the DM versus the chuckle fuckery of the players, to me, is kind of weird. It sends something off in my brain because I'm always thinking like I would prefer one or the other, and there's both, and I understand because they're friends. Like that's how they play, and I can't criticize that. But when I hear this professional, deep, intense, dramatic game master, I'm always expecting the players to kind of synergize and be that way, and they're not that way. Um, Good for them. It's hard for me to break through because it keeps throwing me off. Kind of like a movie that has one actor is very dramatic and the other actor is being a comedian, and them going back and forth. Sometimes if it's not done well, to me it throws me off. Um, but one of these days I'll catch up on it. Well, there's so many people doing summaries and breakdowns. Ooh, excuse me, breakdowns and such. It's fine. I mean, their feelings aren't hurt, and it's not. Yeah, I'm not hurting anything. Um, so um, so publishing is difficult because you almost, for example, let's say you've got a 500-page world and you have it. It's ready. It's done. It's written. What have you? It's done. How do people find out about it? Well, my suggestion is you're going to have to give something away for free to let people get interested. And one of the best ways I've seen of doing it is to whatever your social media is, talk about little hints and things. For example, like oh, Vincent says the GM is absolutely genius from what I saw, but there are just too many voices in there. I have to focus way too hard to get to what's happening. Yeah, and if it's not your native language, or it's not a language that is native to you now, maybe you've moved overseas or something, it can be hard to catch up on it, especially since you have a ton of voices. You'll have a lot of like slang references and things. It can be difficult. Vince says, and again, for world building, I still need a world for my shaman deck building RPG. You know, it's one way of getting the word out is you may need to be very consistent in whatever social media you are, maybe posting once a day, once every other day, maybe pick a time period that you always post, and then post little things to people's get the conversation going. So an example would be, let's say you have a tribal group in your world, and you'll say, maybe you'll post out like a picture or a comment, or snatch a picture offline and go, um, tribes, like, you know, in my world of so and so, these people are like that. Have you? And then ask an open question: have you ever used um run a world in which there are only tribes? There's nothing, you know, no one's broken through to the Bronze Age yet, or something, and then get people to talk about it, and then post those kind of things to get people to interact with what you're asking or talking about, or what you want to put out there, and do it consistently. Um, um, Business says, yeah, like Stars Without Number, the base book is free, but all supplements cost 10 plus bucks. So you can play it without paying anything. But if you want to support him, you can. Fate was the same way. Fate wasn't free, but Fate had like super cheap. I think it was like $5 or something, like, or Fate Accelerated was like $5, stripped out rules. I think the main Fate book was $10. I think Savage Worlds did the same thing, where they had a really cheap, strip out all the fluff. Here's like an adventurer's book, or I forget what it was called, Explorer's Guide or something. Here are the rules. Here's real cheap. See if you want to be involved in it. And another way to do it is like Lloyd Collins. Lloyd Collins ran a ton of games in his world. Hey, if you're interested, here's this, you know, gritty Viking styled world that's going to be harsh. You're probably going to die. Do you want to play? A lot of people are like, that's not for me. Ignore those people. The ones who want to play, you run a ton of games. And he's got a foundation of, I'm going to say, hundreds of games that he's done. And Lloyd got involved in gaming when I got started in live broadcasting, because although I've been in games, I've been gaming for over 40 years, but I hadn't been online gaming at all, which is that's all exclusively I do it now. I don't have a gaming group or anything like that. Everybody I know and everyone I interact with is online. Prue says, Vince, do you strictly need a world setting? Could I play your game in my own setting if I wanted? And it's the idea is, you want to be very you want to be value added, you want to be flexible, you want to allow people how can I say this? I may have an image of how I want my creation to be used. You got to be flexible enough to let other people break it, right? Like I'm just making this up off the top of my head. Vince, if you have a game where you're like, hey, I've got this role-playing setting and I want to add these cards into the game, and someone says, hey, I just want to use the cards, can I just use the cards from your setting? You kind of have to go, you know what? Yeah, that's sure. Yeah, you know, those kind of things. So marketing has to do with consistency. So you got to poke your head into whatever social media you have and just be consistent about it. Be a link between others. So if you are the central hub to let other creators or people who are inspired connect together, if you know someone is into dark magic or something, and they have a lot of information about like tarot and fortune telling, and then someone else is running a game that needs that information, if you become the central hub in that, that also helps you out. Being positive, being creative, being supportive of what other people are doing. And then lastly, just asking the question, hey guys, you guys are small publishers, I've got this thing, I'd like you to take a look at it. Would you like to do it? Fine. Like Vince, I think that we could probably do something together. By the way, I'm a writer. I came into Critical Hit Publishing later, so it wasn't like me and two other guys became a group. It was two other guys who had been doing something, and then I poked my head in and said, listen, I like to do a hangout with you guys. Here's my idea. What do you think? I've written some stuff up. Take a look at it. Tell me if you like it or not. So that's basically what happened. And so now, now Vince, now that I, this is kind of weird to say, now that I know who you are, we'll hook up and we'll talk. Like we'll probably we'll do like a private hangout or whatever. You can PM me, those kind of things. Yeah, it's perfectly fine because you know who I am. Yeah, I don't have a problem doing that. So that's the other thing in publishing is, you know, just reaching out, putting yourself out there. And I, to this day, I still don't know what the balance is between, you know, humble bragging and being arrogant or whatever. Facebook is better for me right now. I've been trying to hit the Discord when I'm at work, and not I've got to read link with my phone. Facebook just pops up very easy. It's very Facebook is quite easy for Facebook and Messenger. Facebook and Facebook Messenger are excellent ways to get in touch with me. I'm now I drive for my job. Like I'm a mail carrier that like I drive and deliver mail and things like that. So if I don't respond, I will respond, but it may not be immediate because, you know, two hands on the wheel, no texting while driving, that kind of thing. Prue says, so if you make your product a layer, including rules and flavor that it needs to work, you might be able to have people playtesting, inspiring the setting you want. And that's one of the great ideas about having live plays. While they may not get a lot of views, what'll happen is those individuals will play in your game, and those people can become creative engines for you. So if they have a great time playing in your setting, excuse me, or playtesting it, and then they can become the people who go out and go, oh man, I really played this game. It's a really bizarre, modern fantasy, you know, dragons in the real world kind of thing. I really had a great time with it. Those people will go out and spread the word of what you're doing. And unfortunately, it's very hard to, unless they're specifically posting and linking back to you, you don't know what they're saying about you. And that can be kind of hard. Vincent says, I mean, you could theoretically file off the spirit flavor and make it whatever you need. Sure, but I usually like to let the flavor inform the rules. It just makes a better, consistent game. But you know what? It's like, it's almost like, it's like a, I want to relate it to like a parent letting the child trip and fall and do what they want. Being a creator means that you're people aren't going to take it the way you think they will, and that's just we can all sit down and watch the same movie and get something different out of it, despite the fact that we're all seeing the exact same thing. It's the same thing with gaming content. Everyone can see the exact same information and get something different out of it, and that's just the problem. You know, that's just the what you're going to get with the monster of marketing what you're doing and such. So yeah, I like the idea of like cards and Jenga towers and like different randomizers and creative aspects and things. Art is just hideously expensive, period. Artwork is expensive unless there's a way, unless you are specifically artistic, it's very expensive, or you're going to have to do a lot of tricks and tricks. Luckily, Alex, who does the layout and finds the art, has developed a really good trick in using real world photography, mixing images, running them through filters so you can't really tell where it's from, and you know, making them alien or fantasy and things like that. He's very good at that. Like there's a ton of free images of castles that really exist. You know, you can take those and change their color and add, you know, elements to them and stuff like that. So it's just teaching yourself how to do it. And I guess lastly, I'll say that the idea, like, okay, for example, like I end many of my streams with a push to what we're doing at Critical Hit. And the reason for that is because I'm trying to be consistent. And even though, it's the way to say this, it can be a turnoff. I have to make the decision, like, do I not push anything, or do I? Vince says, because he's talking about the cards in the chat, like, the cards are not there to replace dice or as a pure randomizer. They're there to be used as abilities that are randomized to a degree. I'm currently writing up a ton of cards to have a critical mass for it to be playable. Um, it's it's just a very difficult thing to do, especially like if someone wants to do like a Kickstarter or what have you. Some people make the mistake of trying to do a Kickstarter without having without having not social media, without having um a group that is very active, like your creative engine behind you to push what it is you're doing. So, like, for example, if you have this great idea, it's all laid out, it's completely done, you say, hey, I want to do a Kickstarter to get this thing finished. The first question is, people need to know who you are. And it's very hard to trust someone if they haven't done things before, they don't have a legacy of what they've done, or you can't look back and say, oh, this individual helped these 6 other creators with their Kickstarter, or this person isn't involved in social media. Who are they, and why should I trust them and give them money and such? Whereas on the other hand, yeah, Vincent says, if my concept turns out to be frustrating or needlessly complicated, I won't use it. It's just very, sometimes there's something very ephemeral that you can't put your hand on, that also has something to do with it. It's just a critical mass of time and place and energy and the people. For example, I'm just going to come up with this. Let's say you have a dice pool mechanic. Your dice pool mechanic, you may be very interested in the dice pool mechanic, but maybe people are just interested in rolling 2d6 for some reason. And you're like, but that's not my mechanic. But for some reason, people are into rolling 2d6. And it's like, well, it's kind of weird, because maybe it just happens to be it's hitting something um emotional that you're not able to quantify um practically in your, maybe your mechanic or your setting or whatever, and that you just never know what's going to happen. Brian Davidson says, how many hours a week do you dedicate to your creative efforts in publishing and promoting yourself? I probably put in 15 to 20 hours a week, and it's a shitload. um um the reason, it sounds like a lot, but I've tried to cultivate it into something that I enjoy doing. So it's like, okay, well, the perfect example is doing these videos, right? Like, when I promised myself, I said, you know what, let me do a daily show. No one's doing like a daily show for RPGs. Let me see if I can do that. And not only did I test myself, but I love doing it, right? It's like me. I don't have a gaming group. I don't get to like call people on the phone and talk to them. This is my way of interacting with people. So I found the thing that I can do consistently for a long time that hasn't really um hurt my ego, and hasn't really like damaged my energy in doing it, right? It's something that I can keep on doing. Now, when I log off, so let's say I do an hour of this, so that's 5 hours a week. The other 10 hours of me are like on my lunch break or what have you. I'm on my phone with Google Docs. I'm always writing something. I joke, although I'm actually semi-serious. I take my phone in with me when I have to, use the little boy's room, and I'm constantly typing there. I'll come home, and before I go to bed, um, I'll get on for half an hour to an hour, or get on my home computer and type things out. So I'm constantly writing. I'm constantly creating something, even if it's an idea that's not fitting into what my project is now. It'll be for the future. So I probably put 15 hours a week, 15 to 20, and that's not including working 6 days a week. Um, Vince says, I know it's not a question you're supposed to ask, but do you make a profit from these things? Obviously, it is not enough to quit your job, but do you think it might become like this? I don't make enough money to do to make a profit. You know what? Maybe shit. You know what? I'm going to end this with I'm going to share with you my profits. So if you can bear with me, guys, I'm going to share with you a video, not a video. I'm going to log on to DriveThruRPG, and I'm going to show you my let's see, get to my account. I'm going to show you what it looks like through DriveThruRPG and what my page looks like. And I'll go back maybe a year royalty. So I'm going to pull up my royalty report, and then I'm going to end up sharing it with you. Let's go back a year. July 20. Sorry. There we go. Include free downloads. Let's run the report. And then I'm going to share my screen with you. Let's go here. Let's see. Screen share. There we go. All right. Boom. Let's see. All right. I hope you guys can see this. Let's roll down here. And all right. I hope you can see this. So right here is Critical Hit Publishing. Here are all the titles of the releases. Next to it is the SKU. That's basically their internal account for DriveThruRPG. The number of units sold and the gross amount of money obtained from them, and the royalty rate. The royalty rates for me are what you might think are low, because a percentage of that has to go to both Rob, Alex, and it has to go to DriveThruRPG because they take a cut as well. And then total royalty reports. And I got to page this down just a little bit more. That is, that's not a year. That's within a month. These are the last 30 days. So I'll call up the year in a minute. I'm going to shrink this down just a little bit because I can't see the chat. So, where's my chat at? There we go. Bruce says, I'm waiting for two books in the mail. My bank account hates me, but I couldn't take it anymore. Sorry about that. Let's go back here. Bam. All right. So real quick, because I'll go back to the chat in a minute. This is the complete, what I've earned. Is right down here is at the very bottom, $90.15 US for the last month. And I can't retire on that. There's just no way. So for example, let me go to the most profitable book so far, because it's brand new, is Cinematic Environs, Plains and Grasslands. 15 have sold. I get an 18% cut, so it's $135 and change, and I've made $24 off of that. Same thing, like let's go up to aquatic depths is actually listed under 2 at the same time, so that's more like $23 and whatnot. Arctic Lands, 5 were purchased, made $5 off of it. So you're talking $1 a book, $1 something a book here, maybe upwards of like $3 a book, that kind of thing. Now, some of the percentages you're going to be like, why is Mountains 5%, or like Survival's 10%? Remember, I'm not the sole writer. Alex and Rob are writers. They are part of Critical Hit before I even joined in. So like Mountains was not written by me. What we were doing is we were writing, and they basically were like, hey, can we write one of the books? And I was like, yeah, here's my layout. Here's what I want. These are the things that I want to hit. You guys fill it out while I go on to the next book. And so that's essentially what happened. Lastly, Alex is a layout artist. He's got to get paid. He does so. You don't have a layout artist who doesn't get paid. So if I'm getting 25%, that's because he's got to get a 25% cut just to, well, it's not exactly 25%, but he's got to get like a 15% cut just for doing the layout work before any of the words are written. So yeah, that's a big thing. So let me I'm going to do one more. I'm going to share a year, and then I'm going to go back to the chat because I can't really see the chat right now. So let me go back a year. July. There we go. What? Yes. Not 18, 17. Sorry, click the day. July 1st. Boom, run report. Bam. So if you look straight down at the bottom, $473 over the last year. That's not enough to retire on. And here are the number of all these things that are being sold. The adventure keys are cheap. They're like $1.50. The bridge of death is pay what you want. That's why there's 142. Down at the very bottom here, we have the extraordinary extras. They're pay what you want. That's why there's 225 and 515. There are people who, pop in a couple of dollars here and there, 50 cents or whatnot. So there is some money being pulled from it, but it's the idea of giving something free away to obtain something else. So yeah, that's where that came from. So I'm going to exit out of here so I can get back to the chat because I can't see what you guys are saying right now. And then I'm going to stop sharing. There we go. All right, am I back? I think I'm back. All right. So let me go back into the chat. Vincent says, well, for a month, that's not actually not too bad, actually. Obviously, not nearly enough, but for a side project, you don't invest any money in. Yeah, see, and that's the thing, right? I have a very realistic and very humble and very pragmatic look at what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. I'm going to mute for just 2 seconds. All right, sorry guys, I just muted myself a little bit. That's terrible broadcasting, but it's all right. Prue says your books are well priced. It's all the other expenses around getting them here that hurts. I decided they have to be worth it. Yeah, and you know what? You can't. There's no way. Shipping costs, print on demand costs. That's just part of the pain. You really can't get in. You can't cover that. It's unfortunate that shipping costs overseas happens to be highly expensive, and print on demand costs are much higher than giant publishers that can, order 5,000 books at a time. By mitigating that cost, you just can't get around that. Yeah, Prue says, I've been following you for years, so believe in equality. Thanks. Thank you for that. Business Science says, is that 250 a year? Cut. Harry P says, never seen your adventure keys before. Let me add those to my collection. Yeah, they're new. The adventure keys are released on the D6th and the D20th of each month. So the 6th and the 20th, and we just picked. I mean, the 20th because it's a critical hit, and the D6 because it's just it's just very popular die roll. It's a mnemonic. But yeah, each time we've got 15 in the pipe, and they'll be released then. Jared says, have you thought of doing something with Patreon, perhaps doing game consultation or something along those lines? Yes, I have. Unfortunately, there really is no way to make money on YouTube, like through ads and stuff. I mean, just point blank, unless you got into YouTube and you're one of those people who has millions of subscribers and you got in early, there really is no way to make a living on YouTube. And when I say living, like quit your job, make a living, that's just not possible. Being a content creator is basically trying to gather money in small ways through different mediums. And getting that money through different mediums is like, what's the minimum effort? hate to say this, but it's the minimum effort you can do to get the maximum outcome on the other end, right? So, for example, let me give you like Nerdarchy. Nerdarchy has a Patreon, so you can join in a Patreon and you get certain rewards, and people can. It's like a tip jar, right? You can use a Patreon as a tip jar. I considered doing it. I was just part of me is like, I don't think anybody would bother doing that. Like, why would anybody tip me for any particular reason? I don't know if my value is worth the time or effort for people to give me money. Vincent says Twitch or Patreon are usually better choices, but you always need a lot of people. And RP Gamer says it's all in a Patreon and merchandise like the books. Well, right. So, for example, Teespring does T-shirts, and I believe for a very minimal amount of money, you can make like get a logo and T-shirts and things like that that you can link in, so that you might get a cut of people buying T-shirts off of your website, maybe. What you're doing. So Teespring makes money, and then you make money off of it. Producing books, getting Patreon, like all those little things, and then maybe using that to go into a Kickstarter to then get a larger book made and pay for artwork and layout. So like for me, I haven't had a need to put out money for Alex to do the layout, but we probably will need to put out money for art. So we have paid for art, but it's not like we're paying. He's part of a collective where you pay to get art. So artists are putting artwork into the collective, and then you pay into the collective to get some of that artwork back out. We haven't hired an artist to say we want these 6 pieces of art specifically done. But there are people in the communities that are doing those things. Like, for example, Alexander, shit. Oh, shit. How did I forget his name? Damn it. Anyway, there are artists in the community that have hooked up with people. Runehammer's a great guy who does excellent does excellent art for like IC RPG, the index card RPG. He's doing artwork for Lloyd Collins for his Iscloth campaign. He's done artwork for Chris Griffith, which is a new campaign setting that's been released from Megan Hambrick and Connor Davies. So it's kind of like, if you know there are people who are doing their own artwork out there, and you'd like to hook up with them, a perfect example would be why is my brain fuck? Because I know I'll remember it right when I get offline. Anyway, there are people in the RPG community who'll draw their characters, or they'll draw different things, and they'll put it on Facebook. Go back and look for those people. Like, go onto Facebook, click onto photographs, see if there's any artwork that looks like someone's like hand drawn it or whatever. Some of those people may not consider themselves to be very good artists, but may be willing to split whatever you earn by having some art put into your books. So just like I'm not a professional, like I'm an armchair kind of guy, hooking up with somebody else who's starting out like you are may be a great way. And if you can synergize with them, that might be a great idea too. Prue says Runehammer is a creative machine of a man, and I think he might just be awesome to work with. Right, John Pintar, perfect. Thank you for bringing up a name. John Pintar is a person who's been part of the community, who does great artwork, who's done commission work for Absolute Tabletop. That's, Fistful of Dice and Tabletop Terrors. And for example, you could go to John Pintar and say, hey, listen, I need some artwork. And he may say no, but he may say no, but like, no, I'm busy, or my art is too expensive, or I'm trying to become a professional and I need to charge a certain amount, but I know a person who's trying to come up. Let me give you their information. Like, it's those kind of things, connecting with those people. And just like, like Runehammer's a creative machine, John Pintar's doing stuff. Sometimes just going, dude, I love your things. If you could just point me in the right direction. And if they tell you no, or they say not right now, don't worry about it. Then a couple weeks from now, 2 weeks, a month from now, go, hey, I just want to get just reconnect with you. Do you know anyone? Blah 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 blah. And then you want to be the connecting tissue with them. So if you come to them, be value added. Hey, there's someone, I know someone in the community that's looking for some art. Do you mind if I give them your name? That kind of thing. And if they say, no, I'm not really looking for any projects right now, or yeah, just send me some of their information. I'll talk to them, because it's just a conversation, right? So if you become that connective tissue, then you become also become a thing. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, I really don't have, I'm just a guy, right? And I don't have secrets. I don't have like, I don't feel like I'm the gatekeeper in information that you can or cannot have. And I just thought it would be a great idea just to talk about Alexander Kostic. Thank you. Thank you very much. See, that's why I need a hive mind, right? That's why I have you guys, because I'm not real smart. I'm not well spoken. I don't do professional videos. I don't do those things. All I can be and do is myself, and the community energizes me to do those things. So yeah, Andre Torres, Alexander Kostic are the ones in the community. And remember, you being the connective tissue, it may not be that like John Pintar doing all of your artwork that's going to be hideously expensive right now, period, because he needs to get paid. But if you can get like one or two art pieces from like Alexander Kostic has just some extra art, like not even something specific for your book, but dude, hey, is there a piece of art I can just use in my book? And Andre Torres, hey, if you're working on something, do you mind just doing something in general? Jake Perez, right? These are guys. If you buy one of their books, just look down the first page or first two pages, look to see who's doing the artwork. Yeah, Jared says, "Hey DBJ, don't shortchange yourself. You're just great at talking." Um, I'm I tend to think that I get energized, and I think maybe that's my thing. I just get really excited about my brain moves 1,000 times a minute, and if I spoke the way I thought, I would never get anything out, because I would just be you just constantly. It would just be me on high speed. So I have to slow myself down, and then because right now in my head I'm already thinking of like the artists that are in the community, hooking up with them. Like in my mind, I'm going, oh shit, I haven't hooked up with them in a while. Maybe I'll just send them a message or something, or when they post something online, I'll just make a comment or whatever. If you guys are on the Absolute Tabletop group, a perfect example of someone who is putting themselves out there is and shit, my brain just left me. Not Megan. God damn it! I'm gonna have to go and because I'm just gonna clock here in on Facebook and see. Let's go over to see what's going on here and see who's posted some crap here. Let's go to Absolute Tabletop. So, for example, who do we have over here? We've got like Alan Holloway put something out there. Get involved in that discussion. Connor Davies just shared The Ravaged Wasteland of Griffith is on sale. Pick up your copy for only $1.99. Shit, I picked it up already. It was posted. The PDF is like $15. Picked it up for 99 cents. It's 157 pages. Yeah, Connor Davies and Megan Hambrick put that out there. Get involved in that. Who else is on here? Jeremy Lilly does a ton of live plays. Get involved with them. And what'll happen is Corey Hollenbach, Marquise Hardis, he's a machine of putting something out there and constantly saying, hey, I got this idea, not sure. What do you guys think of this? Hey, I'm working on this spell. I'm working on these class features. What do you guys think? Marquise Hardis is a machine when it comes to that. So yeah, those are ideas as well. So anyway, yeah, I'm going over an hour again, of course, but I thought I just wanted to interact with you guys, tell you guys kind of how I got into it. Yeah, Griffith the campaign setting, has some awesome art from Runehammer. The book, super amazing, considering it's their first one. And in many ways, if you take a look at all the people that contributed to the book, the play testers, the art, the layout, and all that kind of stuff, all those people are members of the absolute tabletop community and other communities who put in their 2 cents to help make that book great. The layout, the look, how it got that way, the play testing and things. And so you really want to gather yourself other people to become your creative engine. When you're at rest, you want your engine to still keep moving. You want the pistons to keep moving. These other individuals can move those pistons for you and keep that engine flowing, keep the energy flowing. And sometimes it's just a matter of, for example, one person may be very good on Reddit. That's it. All they're on Facebook and they're on Reddit. And you go, I'm not on Reddit. If you can kind of bring that person into your fold and say, hey, listen, do you mind like popping in something on Reddit for me? And they say, yeah, sure. And then you give them something in return. So when I say something in return, whether it's being active in what they're creating, putting out their stuff. Yeah, Prue says Jeremy Lilly, he embraces new people like no other. Marquis' creative output is almost intimidating. I'm not entirely sure he's human. Does he put something out twice a day, every day, 7 days a week? Jesus. And Jeremy Lilly, he reaches out to everybody. He's constantly doing games. He's constantly doing new settings. He's always posting stuff out about his game world, whether people are interested or not. So it's just very difficult to do it. And you gotta grow that thick skin as well. People are not going to like what you do, no matter what it is, who you are, what it is. Some people are just not going to like you and what you're about for whatever reason. I've got videos with thumbs downs. No one tells me why. You just have to you just have to flow with it. You just have to go with it. And what people don't realize that is you thumb down videos, it actually increases their content, because I mean it helps their metric because you're interacting with the video. So thumbs downs on videos actually help the video get more responses, which is weird. So yeah, I one time actually thought about doing a series of videos where I asked people to keep thumbing it down to see how many thumbs downs I can get. But that was just a little silly thing I thought about one day. I cannot. I'm not going to brutally punish the German, but Vincent Shine says, he has it in German, is it says someone will always complain, as we say in German. Yeah. I'm gonna punish it, and that's just gonna make me look stupid and whatever. So yeah, someone's always gonna complain. You can't. You have to. You kind of have to push past it so that the voices of those that are interested in what you're doing drown them out. Absolute Tabletop, Facebook group for me is that group that drowns out the negative nannies. And whereas, like, say, the 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons group, which has got like hundreds, over 100,000 people, is not that way. So yeah, but anyway, guys, thanks for joining me. Thanks for being part of this. If you want more of this, I will do it. Just giving you some background information and hooking up with people how to do it. I tried to give you as many details as I could, since I covered a lot of different things. Maybe if you guys want me to go over something hyper specific, like how a specific book was made, maybe I can do that, or I don't know, whatever you want. I can do that too. Of course, you guys can put it in the Discord. Like I always say, everything you need to learn about me, what I'm doing, and what's for sale, products that are out there are listed below the video. If you've stuck this long, bravo. But anyway, I'm going to sign off here now, guys. Thank you very much for joining in. Vincent says the worst Facebook group is Shadowrun. Just gun porn and random posts, and any creative ideas just put down immediately. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you on that one. Harry P says, I would love to hear your creative process in making a book. So you know what? I'll do that. I will absolutely do that. It's on the docket. Boom, you're done. Um, uh, I'll run through you how I make a book. So probably what I'll do is like I'll show you my Google Doc, and sometimes I'll know that a book is split up into like many pieces. So I'll show you like my files with my Google Doc and how I write, and essentially bullet points, and just expand from there. And then those Google Docs are shared with Alex and Rob and whatnot. And then I'll do all that. Yeah, I'll do that. And that sounds good. Not a big deal. You guys, everyone have a very good day. If you don't know who I am, I'm surprised you don't know by now. You can follow us on Facebook. You join the Critical Hit Publishing group. You get on the Discord, all that kind of stuff. So, guys, have a very good day, and I'm out. I'll see you tomorrow.